Shalom, hello out there, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful week. Today I'm going to be sharing some mindsets concerning abstaining from premarital relations. And this should encourage you as well. And this is across the board for anybody who's willing to use the information, male or female. So let's start here. One of the main things, right, that you should consider to start the process of developing a healthy mindset to abstain from sexual activity is soul ties. Let's stop, go into this a little bit. Okay, so when it comes to soul ties, sometimes you may find yourself dealing with certain emotions and having certain struggles that you wouldn't have had prior to laying with certain individuals. This is something people, don't consider enough. Once you break up from a relationship, I won't say break up, but once you come out of living in sin when it comes to indulging in premarital relations, one of the first things you should do is make sure you fast so that you can, cleanse yourself from soul ties. So for some of you out there that may be struggling to continue to abstain or feel tempted to engage in sexual activity, consider that whether or not you have fasted since you've gone the distance, and that should help alleviate some things for you as well, because excuse the noise, but when your flesh is on low and your spirit is on high, your ability to not indulge in certain things heightens as well. Fasting and praying, so that's a key component for those who have already put down having premarital relations and are now, dealing with the urges and things that come. And for those who haven't put it down, that's one thing to consider, is stopping first off and getting to a place mentally of understanding that. Another mindset, number 2, that you want to put in mind is, what does it really benefit you other than the physical parts? When you think about the physical parts of intimacy, and I'm still going to incorporate some of the facts from soul ties in this, is that when you merge yourself with someone else, you could end up picking up habits, behaviors, not just the other consequences that you find about in sex education, like pregnancy and uncleanness and so on, but characteristics. Like, some people prefer to be with the opposite gender of their self. Sometimes people can put themselves in a position of compromising their soul when laying with somebody, and then end up dealing with thoughts and different twists and kinks and desires that they never had before. It's not, some people call it turned out, but it's not really turned out. It's a sharing of lasciviousness, of perversion. And so those are some of the things you may want to consider as well, is, number 2, the fact that your ability to be satisfied in a righteous marriage and union in the marriage bed could be placed on the line just by you dipping and dabbling in different places. See, the person that the Most High Creator may have for you may be someone who doesn't indulge in certain activities. And so therefore, some of you, male or female, can end up meeting somebody who's really good and has all of the qualities you like in a person, but because you have not got your carnal desires in check, you end up questioning whether or not you should really be with someone based off of things that pertain to limitations in the bedroom. And so you could really miss out on a good man or woman simply because you've done so much that you're not able to feel like you can be pleased with someone who would be more righteous or traditional when it comes to a marriage bed. When I say marriage bed, I mean, what takes place in the bedroom amongst married couples. Okay, and then number 3, this is a big one. Here's another mindset to here's another way to look at it to help you. If you take a stick and you bang it up against a tree, the tree is wood, the stick is wood. That doesn't necessarily mean that a fire is going to be started. So for those of you that are in the faith as well, and those of you who are trying to, get to a place of where you're able to abstain, consider that when you are walking in Christ and you're seeking to be a better person, one of the big things that stands out is that when it comes to union, you want it to be fiery. You want it to be the type of relationship that helps both of you to operate in being who God says you are, the Father in heaven says you are. And that said, it has to be fire in it for that to be so. You want to be with somebody who's as fervent in the faith as you are. It doesn't mean either of you be perfect, but you want it to be fervent. So back to the term, banging a stick against a tree. There's no fire, there's no spark, there's no love. Question whether if you died, I'm not trying to say you will, but if you were to die tomorrow, how appropriate would it be for that person to show up at your funeral and speak and truly discuss amongst tons of people who were there for the memorial of you about what their interactions were with you? How appropriate would it be? Would it make your mom or your dad cry harder if they were to say, oh yeah, I used to, or their affiliation with you was basically you guys having a sexual benefits type of relationship? If you can't stand up and speak at that person's funeral, or if that person couldn't stand up and speak at your funeral and thoroughly give detail on about what their interactions with or were with you, or how they knew of you, what do you think that means? I can't say it enough. So these are just some types of viewpoints to begin to renew your mind with. These are some new viewpoints to train yourself with. But the biggest one is love. With it being love. If you're in a serious situation, I'll say this is the fourth. Can you guarantee that person will have your back if some things went down? Would you be able to look to this person to help you if you were in a financial crisis? And if they chose not to, would you have the right to even be offended with them for not showing up for that? I mean, just think about it. If it's a physical thing you're involved in with someone, and it isn't a marriage or a union, how much room do you even have to be disappointed about their absence when you find yourself in a life crisis, if the only connection to that person was based off of physical things only, or based off a scenario that wasn't promising in the first place? It wasn't meant for the long haul. It wasn't till death do you part. These are some of the ways that you can start to renew your mind and train your mind to view these things. And what I can guarantee you is that over time, if you look at it that way, you will find that though you may get feelings or still get your urges, you won't possess the mental capacity to even want to really cross that line, because you know what's at stake. You know it's not worth the exchange. And so that's the key thing to abstaining from activities. Excuse me. You know what I mean when I say activities. Sexual relations. Premarital sexual relations, so to speak. The best way to do it is to really look at all of the things that life can throw you. And then some people may say, okay, for you portions out there that feel like you have everything financially in place, because a lot of people who feel like, they can just do that, a lot of them feel like they're where they need to be. They're taking vacations, they go where they want to go, they party, they feel like there's enough zeros and decimal points that reflect in their account balance and so on. And so it's like, look, they're not ready to settle down. You just want to have, they just want to have fun. But then there are those of you who are coming out of that lifestyle, and you want to try something different. You want to abstain. You want to wait and make sure that it's with someone who's going to be with you forever and walk with you down the aisle. Or you stand at the aisle and watch them walk down the aisle. Here's what to consider. If you were to become not well tomorrow, how useful would the person you're laying with be to you in that time? Could you be certain that that person would be near your hospital bed and stay there and sacrifice their time and go through the process of whatever healing that you would need with you? Would you have someone to walk with you through that? That's another way to look at it for those of you that feel you're established enough financially to where, and you're putting it down, but you're at risk of wanting to go back to that same mindset? Do you have a partner throughout life for the rest of your life with the person you're laying with, or is it just a temporary thing? And if you were to pass away tomorrow, going back to number one, where would these people be? Would they be able to speak at your funeral about what they did with you and how they did it and what it was like? Would it be appropriate? Do they love you enough to go through ups and downs and hardships with you and be a solid support team with you in that matter? If your state of well-being was to change, would they walk with you through the healing process? If you were to have a serious financial or life crisis, would they even have to be obligated to be there for you? Because the thing about this is, whether you're being a believer and you're starting your journey, and even for people who aren't but are considering possibly changing up their life and abstaining from these activities, here's something to consider. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you think about it, life happens to everybody. It does. And it doesn't even have to be something intense. It could just be a state of mind. How supportive would these people be if something was discouraging you? How much encouragement would they be dedicated to offering to you? If you can't guarantee that from your connection with these people, it would even be right to obligate them to it, or to have the expectation of them to be there for you through it, then why even bother with it? Major thing is love. How there's a lot of people out there that are doing things with people, or have put it down, but are contemplating going back to the same way of life. And the fact is this: if you were to pass away tomorrow, would they even show up? Because some of these, I'm gonna be honest, some of these people wouldn't even show up. They wouldn't even come. Some of these people who have put down these things, or are seeking to walk in abstaining from premarital relations, have to consider this. You look at it this way. Or just think about it, if you're laying with someone who's ever taken a person's life before and gets a perk out of doing that and burying bodies. And then now you've laid with them and you've meshed your spirit with them, and then now you getting intense urges of rage and different emotions that you didn't feel before suddenly. Or somebody who doesn't prefer to be with the opposite gender starts to get thoughts that they never had or entertained before. It's so many different things to consider outside of just what you learn in sex ed, what you learn about getting pregnant or sexually transmitted diseases and viruses. It's so much more to it than just looking at that. When you are intimate with somebody, it's a spiritual thing. And everything that person deals with you could risk having to battle with those same spirits. And if you are not where you need to be spiritually in your walk with Christ, then your ability to even combat some of the things that the person you do marry, let's say that, even the person you do marry would be questionable. So the most important thing is to renew your mind and look at these different avenues for what they really are. Soak that up, and it's hard for me to talk about it. It's kind of hard to just, stay on it and stuff, because it's an awkward topic. But regardless of it being an awkward topic, this information must be shared to help somebody else. And excuse me if I'm looking aloft, because where I'm sitting, there's activities and stuff going on around me, and I'm just kind of keeping watch. But regardless, please take these facts on in and utilize them to help your thought process. Because if you do this, or you ask the Father to help you to get in this mindset, what you'll find is that where you once could do something just based off of urge, you won't be able to do that. Your mind won't you'll see it's pointless. You'll see it's no use. You'll see that it's you allowing yourself to just go, some people are going to be offended when they see this. And for those of you that would be offended seeing this, if you've used your free will to make the decision to live that type of lifestyle, that's your decision. That's your free will. This video is specifically for people who want to make the decision to merge over to a different lifestyle. A more biblically back one, so to speak. If you are not that person, by all means, move along. There's no reason to even be commenting and going against it. I'm going to say the very biggest factor, I'll save the best for last. And it's a few. And that is the love of the Most High. You want to please the Father, and you're really serious about trying to get to where you need to be in the journey and being who He says you are. I think the biggest factor is to be able to show love. And one way to make Him proud of you is to do things that please Him. Second, in this last few, is self-love. A big part of self-love is making sure that you don't do things in a certain way with the wrapping He gave you. Your body, your fingers, your phalanges, from head to toe. You were formed in your mother's womb. Your visage and appearance is what He gave you. Take care of it. Abstaining from premarital sex is showing a level of self-care and self-love in the same fashion that someone would take to be careful that they don't just eat anything. It's the same care that someone would take when they get up and bathe in the morning. When you moisturize your skin. Ladies, when you go get your hair done. Men, when you sit in that barber's chair. It's another form of self-love. You have to start looking at it that way. And you have to get these mindsets in to think of it on a plane that's more than just physical. And once you grasp that concept, your mental and your emotional on a heightened level kicks in with balance. And you start to see that it's really not worth it. You be just banging a stick up against a tree. But it doesn't guarantee a fire. That said, I encourage you to wait on the Lord. I know it's been awkward. It's been kind of hard to abstain contact. I'm looking everywhere, as far as being spot on. And it's awkward a little bit. But these facts are facts and they hold truth. So that said, I pray that everyone has a blessed week. And, you receive this message and that the information shared may help you with your mindset regarding being able to uphold and abstain from premarital sex. That said, peace, love, and blessings to everyone. Bye. Have a holy and blessed week. Holy kisses.